Welcome everybody to another Data36 live webinar. I'm Tomi Mester, and today we are going to talk about data science hobby projects. I will give you a few tips and tricks. And in the last few years, I've done a lot of hobby projects. My students in the Data36 courses, I've seen them doing a lot of hobby projects. And we have collected, and I have collected a lot of best practices that I want to share with you today. So this is what today's presentation is about. Two comments before we get started. The first one is that you can ask questions on data36.com/question. This is a nice surface. If you go there, you can ask questions. You can upvote or downvote each other's questions. And so if you add your questions, I will answer them after the presentation. This is our Q&A surface. The other comment is that today, right after this presentation, I will launch the data source course, big announcement and all. So I will launch my brand new course, the data source course. Some of you have heard about this, some of you didn't, but I will talk about that after the presentation. So stay tuned and let's get started. Data science hobby projects. Why do we do data science hobby projects? What's the goal? And for aspiring data scientists and even for junior data scientists, I think the number one goal of doing data science hobby projects is boosting your portfolio. So you want to boost your portfolio, add a few projects to it, showcase that you can do data science hobby projects, showcase your Python skills, your SQL skills, and things like that. The second thing is learning. You want to learn, and there is, you can do a lot of online courses on Python, SQL, statistics, but nothing is as great practicing and learning than as a real-life project. Even if it's a hobby project, you meet with problems that you have to solve by yourself that you cannot meet in courses. So a hobby project is great real-life learning, data cleaning, unexpected issues, business thinking. So yeah, really, it's just great learning, even on the coding side, because if you have a project, then a hobby project, you always have to learn something new on coding level as well. So you need to learn a new library, even a new language sometimes. So it's great learning, and it's also a lot of fun. So to keep yourself motivated, you have to have fun. So maybe that's not the most important goal of a hobby project for an aspiring data scientist right now, but I wanted to add this because it's always good to have fun when you are working on something. A few hobby projects that I've done in the near past, in the bottom right corner, you see a game that I've created in Python based on simple statistical models. It's a game that teaches a simple statistical concept called expected value. Then on the top right corner, you see Data36 articles. I've done this graph to do some sort of cluster analysis. This is a simple but useful machine learning technique to map out which are the articles on Data36 that are being read together, so by the same readers on the blog. So the green bubbles here are articles on Data36, the orange ones are different articles, the blue ones are different articles. Each bubble is an article. And the third project is this was my most recent hobby project. It's a strawberry plant. So I've created an automated gardener that automatically grows this strawberry. It's in Python as well. And when the sensor says that the plant doesn't have enough light, then it automatically activates the lamp. If it doesn't have enough water, it automatically activates the watering system. So it's pretty cool. But that's not the point. The point is that it was doing this project was a lot of fun. I've learned a lot doing them, and recently I've done, not recently, it was like 3 or 4 years ago actually, I've tried to predict, for instance, Bitcoin prices without any success, by the way, or I try to compare news on different news portals and try to use a machine learning algorithm to pick the most valid or the most credible article on a given topic. I'm just showing this to you because there are a lot of exciting ideas out there. You just have to pick one that makes you excited and start to do that. And speaking of which, let's talk about our first question tonight or today. I will answer 5 big questions, but the first one is that what should be the project? What should be your data science hobby project? And I put together a few criteria that we should pick. If you are an aspiring data scientist, of course, if you have this goal in your mind that we have discussed, the first thing is that your project should be a simple project. And you know, people, even myself, I always underestimate the complexity of my projects. And you know, for this automated gardener, for instance, I estimated that I will put this together in like 10 or 12 hours altogether, and it turned out to be more like a 40 or 50, or after a point I didn't even time it. So it turned out to be like a 4 or 5 times bigger project, and this is quite typical. So if you choose something simple, you will find it's more complex than you thought, but it's really worth to pick something simple, because the goal here is not to create something super complex. The goal, again, is to demonstrate your data science skills. The next thing is that you should pick something that's exciting for you. So again, to keep yourself motivated, you should pick that something that interests you. It should also be demonstrable, if that's a word at all. But it should be something that you can show to people. So for instance, if you get hired, or if you apply for a position and not yet hired, but if you apply for a position and you want to discuss a project with the hiring committee that you have done, of course it should be something that people understand and something that people can relate to. And advanced tip here, or an expert tip here, is that for instance, if you apply for a position at a fintech startup or a fintech company, maybe you can prepare by doing a fintech related hobby project, and you can discuss that. It's a big plus on the application process. I mean, it's really optional. It's just again, it's an expert trick. It's not that important. What's important though is that you should pick a project where you can find data, where you can get data, what you can get data for. And this takes us to the next slide, how to get raw data for your projects. And you know, I see this as the biggest roadblock at my students who finish the course, tries to start their own hobby projects on their own, and they get stuck at not finding data for their hobby projects. But it's not as difficult as you would think. More particularly, I think there are 5 big types of data sources that we should talk about. The first one is your own databases, and people tend to forget that we have so many smart devices, or like for instance, you can download data from smartwatches, you can download data from your phone, you can download a lot of data even from your computer, like your browsing history, you can analyze that as well. So you have a lot of data sets that you have already. If you don't, you can create projects like I have done with the Raspberry that generates live data, moisture data, photos of the plants. So you can generate this for yourself. And additionally to that, so many of my students who finished the course, actually they came up with a really good idea. They just asked a friend who had a website or an e-commerce store or something like that, a small business, to give the data for them, and they analyzed that data for free, so on pro bono basis for these friends of theirs. And it was a win-win situation. The business owner, their friends, got a free analytics project, so they got some insights about their business. And the Data 36 students, they could have done a hobby. It wasn't even a hobby project. They could have done a real project for practicing. So that's a good trick. The other big data source can be APIs. API means application programming interface, but it's also a great data source. And if you think about apps or applications or web apps that you use every day, like for instance, I don't know, Spotify or Google Analytics or social media apps like Twitter, Facebook, these all have APIs, which means that if you can get access with these APIs to these applications, you can download a lot of raw data from these applications that you can analyze. And that's a big opportunity. Of course, you won't get access to everything, but you will get access to definitely some exciting raw data sources, raw data sets that you can analyze. And other thing that if none of the previous two is for you, you can even generate data with random generators. You can generate data for yourself with Python scripts. I've done that for my online courses. Generating these data sets is already a hobby project in itself, but if you create a meaningful data set, you can do some basic analysis on them. A very popular method is web scraping. You can scrape many websites on the internet, and you can do basic analytics projects on them, like counting the words, creating analysis about, you can create sentiment analysis, you can compare different articles, like what I have done with these news portals. I downloaded the articles on the same topic, and then I compared them with different machine learning algorithms. So web scraping is a nice opportunity. And on the top of all these, there are a lot of open data sources available on the internet. So if you go to Google Dataset Search or Kaggle.com, you will already find data sets that you can just download and use. So there are a lot of data sources. By the way, this is what the data source course is about these 5 different types of data. I will talk about this later, but in the data source course, I explain in depth, for instance, how you can get access to APIs. I show the code, I explain how, I show you an example of web scraping, I give you real-life data sets, randomly generated data sets, etc. So that's what the data source course is about. But let's talk about the third step. So once you picked your project, once you have your data sets, your raw data, it's time to get started. And how you get started, I think the best if you are very lean about it. More particularly, I have 2 advice for you. The first one is that don't try to reinvent the wheel. So when I have done this Raspberry project that I've talked about a lot already, I haven't done anything new that others didn't do before me. I've checked a lot of tutorial articles, a lot of tutorial videos, and I just put together the little pieces, and I just figured out from the small things that others have done that how can I build this together. Of course, it needed some creativity, but how can I put this together and create a project for myself? But definitely it isn't worth to reinvent the wheel. The other tip is that try to come up with a working beta quickly. So for instance, if you analyze weather data and you have raw data about humidity levels, about rain, about sunlight, about wind, whatever, don't try to analyze all this together for the first try. Try to pick a narrow segment, like pick wind only, for instance, or rain data only, and try to do the whole analysis in this vertical segment. So get the data, clean the data, analyze the data, create charts, take conclusions. And if you have this narrow segment of your data science project, First, it will give you a lot of motivation that you will see that it works. Okay, this can be done. We just have to scale it. Also, once you have this, it will be much easier to add another segment, and another segment, and get the whole project done. So working beta, do it quickly. It's very useful. How to not give up. And this is an important point because we are close to finishing the hobby project, which is essential to finish the hobby projects, but I see many people giving up somewhere along the way. And this is, as I see, it's mostly about losing motivation or having other priorities during the project. So here are a few tips how to avoid giving up. First off, it's really good if you can do this in teams, which means, as I see, the most efficient way of doing this in working like a 2 or 3 people team, where you have this accountability towards your teammates, right? So once you are not working alone, you have to move forward because your teammate moves forward, and so you have to get down your part. So that's why it's working in a team. It's really motivating. If you don't want to work in teams, but you still want to feel accountable, another trick is to do a public commitment, like a simple thing, write a tweet to Twitter that from this point on, I'm working on this hobby project, and below this tweet, I will talk about the process. That's a public commitment, and if you quit the hobby project, maybe no one will care, but inside you, there will be this commitment that you don't want to get embarrassed socially, and you won't give up the project. I've done this myself. Almost every hobby project, I write a tweet about it. I start to do YouTube video series about it. So it's like public commitment is a big trick to finish your hobby projects. And another thing, and I'm telling this by my own experience, that don't take long breaks. Most definitely try to pick a hobby project that can be done in a month, and don't go for summer vacations for 2 weeks during the process. I've done that. It's really hard to come back to your hobby project when you check out of it, so don't take long breaks. And the final point is how to finish the project. And there is this saying that if a tree falls in a forest but no one's around to hear it, does it make a sound? And it applies for data projects as well. So you get the point. If you do a hobby project, publish it in some way. The most basic that everybody should do is to publish your hobby project to GitHub. I will show you an example, but basically just upload your code, upload a short presentation about it, and a few descriptions about what's in the project. That's it. Nothing fancy. Just basic way to publish your project. If you want to take it to the next level, you can write a blog post about it, and it's good for several things. It's sort of a public commitment. So if before finishing the hobby project, you reach out to someone who has a blog that you want to guest blog to them, then it will make you finish the hobby project. But the other more important point is that if you write an article about a hobby project, you will have to also think about how you communicate in a meaningful way your hobby project. And that's also a very important point for being a data scientist. You have to know how to communicate your projects. So try to write a blog post about it. It might get the media attention. If you don't have any ideas, the easiest publication to get in is, at least as I see it, is towardsdatascience.com. It's a Medium publication, or you can publish a blog post to Medium directly, but you can go to towardsdatascience.com, you write an article, send to them, and if it's not bad, then they most probably will publish it. So write a blog or post your thing to social media. It might get picked up, it might get a media attention, but again, it's not the point. It's, you know, just once you have something, just put the word out and publish it. But most importantly, however you published it, put it in your CV, because that's the whole point. You want to build a portfolio because you want to boost your CV. If you have your hobby projects on your CV, when you apply for a job, most probably the hiring committee or the HR person, not the HR person, but the hiring manager, so the data scientist on the team who will hire you, they will take a look at your GitHub, they will take a look at your projects, and they will evaluate you based on what you have on your CV in those terms. So don't forget about that. And yeah, I guess this is pretty much it. I have one more thing. I want to show you a simple and great example for a hobby project. This is Amy, and this is her GitHub account. She has, like, after finishing my course, the Junior Data Scientist first month, she has done like 6 or 8 projects. That's a lot. You don't have to do that many. She was just really motivated. But what I wanted to show you is how she presented her hobby project. So, and I love this because it's very simple, yet very meaningful. So she gave a simple description, and then she uploaded her Python notebooks. It was for this dating site occupied, it's maybe a dating site in the UK or in the United States. I don't know about that one, but I think it's a popular dating site, and at the point this dating site published an open data set. Amy downloaded that data set, and she has done analysis on that data set. She has done simpler analysis. This is a Jupyter notebook. She simply uploaded it, and this is perfect because if I were a hiring manager and I looked at her GitHub, I already know that, okay, she knows these libraries: Pandas, NumPy, Matplotlib, Seaborn, the most important libraries for data scientists. She definitely knows how to write simpler and then later more complex Pandas code and Python code. She knows how to visualize things. She has created here everything, and then she has done some more expert things like a k-means clustering. So she added machine learning algorithms as well. It's not necessary, but you know, it's always nice to have these kind of advanced things on your portfolio. So this is really great. Again, it demonstrates very well her Python skills. And then I think another important part of this portfolio is the presentation she attached. And again, this is simple yet interesting. It's the perfect balance between simple and interesting. It's very simple because one chart, one takeaway, nothing special. Even the design is very simple, like not many colors, but she got the perfect analysis. It's very easy to understand. Also, she added some more interesting analysis, like the drug use habits or smoking habits and correlations between education and different habits. So it was very interesting. It grabbed attention, but it also showed again that she can communicate her findings very efficiently. So I think you don't have to do anything better than this one. This is just perfect. This is what hiring managers are looking for. Demonstrating your Python skills, demonstrating your presentation skills, and your business and analytics skills as well. So this is perfect. And I think that with that being said, this is the end of the presentation. So these were my tips and tricks about data science hobby projects. And I promise that I will have the big announcement, the big course launch in this live webinar, and it's time for that. So I have created a course, a brand new course called the Data Source course that will help you to get the raw data for your data science hobby projects. If you remember, I listed 5 different ways of getting the data. Data Source course is helping you with all these data sets. I will show this soon. The link is data36.com/data-source, but it's also linked below this video, so you can go there, data36.com/data-source if you are interested. And in this course, I will give you access to 3 real-life data sets of mine, a slice of data on data36.com, the data of the, not raspberry, but this time blueberry, that I talked about, so light data, moisture data, and photos. I will also show you 4 different APIs, how they work. I will show you the code end-to-end, the Open Weather API, the Twitter API, the Yahoo Finance API, and the Coinbase API. I will also give you 2 data sets that I generated with Python code. So I wrote Python random generators and created these artificial data sets. I will also give you access to the random generators that I have created and that you partially see on the screen. So you will get the full notebook and you can learn how to create artificial data sets for yourself. I will also show you an example for web scraping, more particularly Wikipedia web scraping, which is the most popular way of web scraping. In the course, I will run an analysis to figure out who's the most popular Avenger based on their Wikipedia page. So it's fun. And I will show you an exhaustive list of open data sets. So that's the new course, Data Source course, which you can find on data36.com/data-source. And today's presentation was about data science hobby projects. I hope that you learned a lot. I hope you liked it. And if you have any questions that you didn't put today onto the data36.com/question surface, feel free to ask them in email, reach out, and I will try to reply as fast as I can. But that was it for today. Thank you for joining, and I will just end this stream. And yeah, no, that's it. Cheers. Bye-bye.